Hello, my friends. Welcome back to another episode of our ProRevenge series, where you come to get your daily dose of satisfaction by listening to others get what they deserve. Guys, today's ProRevenge episode is all about cheaters. We're talking infidelity. There are going to be 5 stories in this episode. The first story is about how OP lays a trap for his unfaithful girlfriend. The second story is how OP gets creative and uses her ex's phobias against him. The last story involves a freaking arrest and deportation. I hope you all stay for the stories today and subscribe for future videos. This first story is titled, Don't Cheat on Me. This story happened over a span of a few years. When I first started school, I had a girlfriend who was decently attractive, not a perfect 10, but definitely a solid 7. Unfortunately, she thought of herself as a perfect 10 and acted like one too. As med school went on, I started spending more time studying and less time caring for myself. Since she put herself on such a high pedestal and thus had no business doing anything beneath her, I was the only person cleaning, cooking, and paying for the apartment we shared. This took up even more of my time as I entered my internship. Sometimes I'd come back to a dirty apartment, and I'd have to clean up after a long shift. I had even less time to take care of myself, and my appearance suffered. I got heavier, and some days I'd have to rush out the door without shaving because I'd only gotten 2 hours of sleep after cleaning and cooking. She'd never help, and was often screaming and hitting me. I stayed with her because I was deeply in love with her. About a year and a half into my internship, I found out that my girlfriend was cheating on me with some art student who she said was there for her and made her feel special and needed. I told her to pack up and get out of the apartment, and she was all too happy to do so. Fast forward a few years and she's in a master's program in Europe and starts talking to me again. I'm on the cusp of finishing my residency and about to start earning the big bucks that people think doctors earn. She asked me for another chance, saying that I was the one, that she made the worst decision of her life leaving me for a loser, and that I was the guy she should have never let go. I was tempted to go for it until I remembered how heartbroken she left me without a care in the world on her part. So I hatched a plot. I told her that she'd have to quit her master's program and come to the States within 3 months. She was reluctant to do so, but I told her that if she wanted me back, she needed to show good faith. I told her she was beautiful and deserved a rich husband. I lied and said that I had a job lined up in a hospital that was starting me at a $300,000 annual salary and that I was so in love with her that I'd happily marry her, and she wouldn't need to work another day in her life as I'd support her with my income. Well, wouldn't you know it? She took the bait. The day before she was due to fly out to the US, I told her I was lying. I blocked her on all my accounts and never spoke to her again. From what I understand, she now has to restart her master's program since she dropped out and is now couch surfing, getting by on begging for charity from whatever few friends she made in Europe. That was ice cold, a plan perfectly executed, and she walked right into that trap. Let me know in the comments if you all believe in second chances for cheaters, or if OP was in the right for plotting such a savage revenge. This story is titled, Cheating While We're Engaged. I'll exploit your phobias. A while back, I was engaged to a guy who seemed like a good choice. Attractive, funny, good job, and he owned a home. I learned he had a downside, though. He was a cheating slimeball, not just a one-time, one-night stand after too much to drink, but he repeatedly cheated with more than one woman. I picked up on a few cues, but eventually had things confirmed beyond a shadow of a doubt. I was venting to my brother about this and told him how I planned to move out, while my fiancée was on a week-long business trip. My brother volunteered to help me before I even asked, and then he got this amazing, devious smile on his face and said, "We can also leave a memento for him." When I asked what he meant, he said, "Pennywise and his friends." You see, the cheating slimeball was scared of clowns, not just a little uncomfortable, but outright terrified of them, even as a grown man. A clown on a TV show, a webcomic, or a book would freak him out, and he'd have to change the channel or click away. My brother owns a print shop and is very protective of his little sister, so in the couple of weeks leading up to this trip, he printed dozens of pictures of clowns in various sizes, ranging from really small wallet-sized ones to big poster-sized prints. We framed most of them in super cheap plastic frames, and others we laminated. We managed to move out all my stuff pretty quickly, which gave us a lot of time to set things up for my ex. We took down every single framed picture and put up a framed clown picture. The clowns ranged from average clowns to the stuff you see in nightmares in horror movies, pictures on the walls, art prints, photographs, and frames on the tables. You name it, it was replaced with a clown picture. Where we got really devious was taking the laminated ones and placing them in things like kitchen drawers, the underside of the toilet lid, in the fridge and freezer, on the back of cleaning bottles, in his underwear drawer, and a bunch of other places. We even made sure to put some in places he wouldn't go for a while, so he'd get a scare months later. He had one of those attic accesses that you'd have to pull down, and a ladder descends. We put a big laminated clown face there, so when the ladder flipped open for him to climb, he'd get a clown face. While we were setting this up, I went a step further and changed the wallpaper on his desktop computer to a clown. I also took about 10 of his favorite movies that he had on DVD and replaced them with burnt DVDs that had clown footage. We put all his original artwork and DVDs in the basement, off the ground and protected from damage, but we surrounded them with giant clown posters of Pennywise and the like. We also set up a motion sensor that, when triggered, would play a creepy clown laugh. I left a note on the kitchen table that said, "I know all about the women you've slept with. I'm out." After a few days of moving out and moving a few clown cars worth of terror in, my brother, his wife, and I celebrated by grilling some steaks and having a few beers. These were paid for by the engagement ring that I sold. Once the jerk returned, I got a text message or two along the lines of, "You monster." It must have taken him days to take care of the photos out in the open alone. There was never any further action or legal repercussions for what we'd done. After all, what grown man would want to say that his ex-fiancée scared him with clown pictures? Very creative revenge, up? Although, I've heard that if an engagement is broken and you don't end up marrying the person, you have to return the ring because, legally, it's not yours. But I'm not 100% sure about that, so please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm often very, very wrong. This next is titled, "Cheat on Me? You'll get deported, arrested, and never see your child again." My ex-boyfriend and I are native-born citizens of the same country in North America. We got together when I was in post-secondary, working toward my degree, and he was taking some time before starting post-secondary to work and save up money. Our relationship was basically perfect from my perspective. We had similar goals and expectations, we both seemed mature and able to work through any problems we had, and we were both happy to be together and enjoyed each other's personalities. Our relationship hit a rough patch, though, when he told me he wanted to study for his degree at a university in Europe. I was, of course, a little upset because it meant we'd have to be apart for 4 years. He was super excited about it, and we determined that we loved each other, and no amount of distance could change that. With time, I graduated and got my dream job. I could now afford to rent our shared apartment with just my income, so I didn't have to move when he was no longer there to pay his half. He was having some problems with his student visa for the country, but it was determined that he could get a temporary visa for the first semester while we waited for the other one to be approved. So, with that, he left. I remember bawling my eyes out at the airport when I hugged and kissed him goodbye, and I parked outside at the airport to watch his plane take off. We talked on the phone almost every night. As unlucky as it was, about 5 weeks after he left, I found out that I was pregnant. Horrible timing, I know. When I told him I was pregnant, he immediately accused me of cheating on him while he was gone. I thought it was odd, and it seemed really out of the blue. That obviously led to a big fight, and I felt offended and disgusted that he would even consider it a possibility. When he came home for Christmas, he was super happy and loving with me, saying he was excited. He even proposed to me on the car ride home from his parents' house on Christmas Eve. I was so happy and overjoyed that it felt like everything would work out okay. When he went back to school, it was again stressful to go through the pregnancy without him, but both his parents and mine were incredibly supportive. They helped me get everything I needed for the baby and even threw me a surprise baby shower. When I gave birth, my ex watched it over Skype from his mom's house. When he finished final exams, he came home to be with us. He immediately started talking negatively about our daughter, saying things like, "Why is her hair that color? My hair color's brown, and she has your friend Tom's eyes," and he again accused me of cheating. So, I reluctantly agreed to a test to calm his suspicions, and wow, could you believe it? She was his. He agreed to pay informal child support while he was overseas. Now for the fun part. His student visa had still not been approved, so he had to reapply for another temporary visa for the next semester. Since he didn't have a permanent residence in the country, as he was staying in student accommodations, he redirected all his mail to me, which I would forward to the university in his care packages. When he came home to visit us, he had applied for a new passport, as his was going to expire in 6 months. I was tasked with picking it up at the office and sending it forward. However, around midterm exam season, I decided that our daughter and I would travel to deliver the care package in person and visit as a surprise. I had to get her a passport and book the tickets, but a couple of months later, we were getting on a plane. When we got to the country, I settled into our hotel, but I was too eager to see him. I took a taxi to his university and went to his dorm on campus. I knocked on the door, holding our daughter. A woman answered the door. At first, I assumed it was his roommate or something, but I don't remember him mentioning he had one. Denial's a powerful thing, I guess. I asked her where he was, and she said he was inside and called out to him. I heard, "Who is it, babe?" He walked out to the door, and when he saw me, he froze. He went pale, and his eyes widened. The woman asked, "Honey, who is this?" I just turned and walked away. He called out after me and eventually caught up with me. He basically told me he'd been so lonely without me, and he couldn't help it. That he loved me and not her and was only using her because he missed me so much. You've got to be kidding me. Using her because he missed me? I yelled at him, calling him a pig and other things, and my baby started crying because I was crying, so I just left without saying anything. I stayed in the hotel for another day while he continuously called me on my cell phone. I booked last-minute tickets home and left early, ignoring every time he called me. I gave myself a week to grieve, and then I put my big girl pants on. I immediately hired a lawyer and asked what I could do to legally separate him from my life. The lawyer advised me to begin the legal separation process and apply for a hearing about custody and child support. I sent him a thick manila envelope with separation papers and a notice for a hearing about custody in his. This story is titled, "Wanna Threaten to Kill Me and Be Creepy with Little Girls? Have Fun Dealing with the FBI." After I broke up with my ex, I kept tabs on him through rumors, hearsay, friendly whispers, and public social media posts due to his threats of violence. He'd occasionally post about burning down my house or text a mutual friend to figure out where I'd moved to. We live in a very small town, so gossip flowed like honey. At the time, friendly custody talks had broken down, requiring attorneys to mediate. Because I wouldn't release my daughter into his care without a custody agreement, I started receiving threats from both him and his family, mostly along the lines of, "If you're gone, the baby will be ours." One specific threat that still sticks with me was to burn down my apartment building, prompting me to move. My social worker and court-appointed attorney never received the requested custody documents, so my concerns quickly shifted from legal issues to my own physical safety. After a while, the gossip changed from "so-and-so is threatening you online" to "Did you hear that so-and-so got kicked out of where he was staying for trying to sleep with his roommate's underage cousin?" I heard about 3 different younger girls who may have been victimized by this guy, which was believable. He had pursued me when I was 19 and he was 26, and I looked very young for my age. We broke up partly because he was arrested for minor sexual crimes. Since he was sending me threats, I wanted revenge and to get him off the streets so I could sleep better at night. I reported him and all his known online handles and usernames to the FBI and contacted the Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Not 2 months later, I got a message saying, "Did you hear that so-and-so got arrested in a sting?" It turns out he'd been trying to meet up with a 12-year-old online, but it was a setup by the state police, or something similar. He caught extra charges thanks to the whips and handcuffs in his backpack, and now he's in jail. If he hadn't sent me those threats, I wouldn't have paid attention to the gossip about him, and he might have gotten away with it for years. I wonder if that sting involved a chat with Chris Hansen. Another creep is off the streets, and I'm sure OP can sleep easier now. This story is titled, "When Getting Your Deposit Back from Your Landlord is Like Drawing Blood from a Stone." Back in 2018, I had a temporary internship in California at a large tech company. A friend recommended a room for rent, so I took it. I'd be living with 5 other people, but it looked fantastic with spacious common areas, multiple huge TVs, full amenities, a community center, with a rec pool, and it was a short drive to several places of interest, all for $650 a month, utilities included. I contacted the landlord, whom I'll call Shady Landlord, or SL for short. He seemed fine on the phone, so I sent my security deposit to move in. A month later, when I moved in, I discovered a few caveats with this low-rent place. The common areas were dusty, none of the 3 large TVs worked properly, and if we wanted access to the rec center and pool, we had to pay $80 a month. Oh, and those short drive times to places of interest? Exaggerated unless you were speeding at 2 to 3 times the speed limit. Whatever, it wasn't the end of the world, especially for the relatively low price. I'd survive. In the coming months, things got worse. SL decided to charge us an extra $20 a month for paper towels and cleaning supplies and only checked the community mailbox once a week when he was in town, as he refused to trust anyone with a mailbox key. As summer rolled in, he decided air conditioning cost too much and that we were using too much electricity, so he removed the thermostat from the wall. Okay then, one day some of us tenants confronted him when he was at the house. I'll never forget his words as he rushed out the front door. "It's legal for me to do it and I don't care since I don't live here." Well, sir, screw you. I was furious at this guy's obvious money grab from 6 tenants, but it turns out he was right. He legally didn't need to provide air conditioning. So, the next day, I purchased a high BTU, freestanding portable air conditioner that exhausts out the window. Of course, I set my room to the lowest setting. We had a few other minor disagreements, which led to SL texting me that it was fine if I wanted to break my lease and move out early. When he got wind of my air conditioner setup, he came to my room to complain. I replied curtly, "This is 100% legal for me to do since you said electricity was covered in the rent." He left and later sent me a text. "About the air conditioner in your room, if you choose to run it at 50 degrees because your computer generates so much heat, that's your choice, but you'll need to pay an additional $100 per month for the extra electricity you've been using, starting from when you installed it without my permission. Thank you so much." Unbeknownst to him, I was seriously considering his move-out offer. The whole time I'd been rallying the troops. All the tenants were upset about the living situation. With some encouragement, I convinced 2 of the other 6 tenants to move out at the same time as me since they were on month-to-month arrangements. I submitted all our notices to vacate at the same time, barely a week after my conversation with him. He was furious. He was just trying to get me out, but now he had 3 rooms to fill instead of 1. I asked about my legally mandated move-out inspection, and he said he was too busy to perform one and told me to just get out. Well, that's illegal, but okay. When the time came, we all moved out, and I texted him about my security deposit. No response. I texted again. Still no response. Oh, okay, I see where this is going. I spent days reading the law, compiling evidence, screenshots, and listing the laws he broke. The smoking gun was a statute requiring a pre-move-out inspection, a list of things to fix, and an itemized list of deductions within 21 days, or else the landlord loses the right to withhold any of the deposit. Plus, he'd be subject to treble damages if found to be acting in bad faith. I texted him again and again, giving him plenty of leniency and even citing the laws to prove in court that I was acting in good faith and that he intentionally ignored the laws I made him aware of. He probably thought I was a young, pushover college student who wouldn't follow through with legal threats. Well, sir, we're going to court because I'm petty as heck when people try to take advantage of me. I filed in small claims court for $650 plus treble damages plus court costs. He filed a counterclaim for $2,000 claiming I caused flooding and broke the microwave. Okay, buddy, game on! In response, I gathered 3 testimonies from the other tenants and built a 40-page packet of evidence, complete with page numbers, a table of contents, and descriptions for every screenshot and photo. I made 3 copies of everything and submitted them to the courts and the defendant landlord. The court date was set for November, and I was leaving the state just before Christmas so I could appear in person since my internship ended in December. He started filing requests to postpone the trial, citing a doctor's appointment. The motion was granted, and the court date was rescheduled for a month later in December, still before I flew home. As the new date approached, he filed another request to postpone, citing another doctor's appointment. Somehow, that was granted too, and we were rescheduled for January. Darn! January rolled around, and surprise, surprise, guess who had another doctor's appointment conveniently on the trial date? This time, it was denied. The court got tired of his excuses because he couldn't prove he scheduled the appointment before the court date was set. By then, I was no longer in California. I was across the country on the East Coast. He thought he'd automatically win since I wasn't willing to fly back for the trial. Unbeknownst to him, California courts offer an option to appear by telephone. On court day, I got the call, was sworn in, and connected to the courtroom. I presented my case, though I hadn't prepared a script, so I summarized the events and explained why I deserved the money. The landlord then defended himself and explained his counterclaim. He didn't prepare anything either, and rambled about irrelevant things, like how another tenant was terrible, so his behavior was justified. He had no evidence for his counterclaim when the judge asked for it. The judge asked a few more questions, said he'd review the evidence, and we'd get the decision in the mail. A couple of weeks later, I got the judgment. I was owed $650, and the landlord got nothing. Well, darn, no treble damages for me. But this guy was a real piece of work and wouldn't accept defeat. He filed an appeal for who knows what, and it was granted. The redo trial was scheduled for May. This time, I was 10 times more prepared. I was sworn in again and connected to the courtroom speaker. I had a detailed script, emphasizing how often I informed him of the law, how he knowingly broke it, and how I offered so many opportunities to do the right thing. Once again, he didn't prepare anything and rambled so much that the judge told him multiple times to get back on track. He claimed I caused water damage and had to replace all the carpets. The judge asked for an invoice or receipt, and he had none. He then claimed I broke the microwave, but the judge read the 3 witness statements stating I didn't break it. He accused us of lying. At this point, the judge sounded done with him, said we'd get his decision in the mail, and the call ended. A couple of weeks later, I got the judgment. I was owed $1,800, and the landlord still got nothing. Well, would you look at that? His appeal didn't work out well for him. He went from owing $650 to owing me $1,800. Being the fool he is, he filed for a mistrial, claiming I wasn't sworn in and that I lied in my testimony. It was denied. Outside of court, he called me and offered a payment plan of $20 a month, which would take 7.5 years to pay back. In other words, he was still refusing to pay up. Okay, I see how collecting my money is going to be. I figured out he banked at Bank of America by looking at the checks I gave him for rent and seeing where they were cashed. I filed for a writ of execution to perform a bank levy, and it was granted. I prepared a packet for the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department to go to Bank of America and take his money. They served him with papers and ordered the bank to freeze his account. After his allotted 30 days to contest the seizure, they seized his money, plus 10% interest, plus sheriff fees. I finally got the glorious check in the mail 20 months after moving out. I'll probably frame it. The total was $1,893.91. A lot of landlords try shady things to keep renters' deposits. I'm glad OP was determined not to let this landlord walk all over them in a 20-month battle. Well done, OP. You deserve a trophy. Below are my opinions on each of the stories. Story 1. Don't cheat on me. This story is ice cold and oh so satisfying. Your ex-girlfriend's entitlement and abuse, cheating, screaming, and hitting you while you juggled med school and all the household chores, is infuriating. Her audacity to come crawling back when you were about to hit the big bucks as a doctor? Unbelievable. Luring her to drop her master's program with promises of a lavish life, only to ghost her the day before her flight, was a masterfully executed trap. Knowing she's now couch surfing and begging for charity feels like poetic justice for her betrayal. I'm with you. No second chances for cheaters who show no remorse. This story's a perfect lesson in not underestimating someone you've wronged. Story 2. Cheating while we're engaged, I'll exploit your phobias. This one had me grinning from ear to ear. Finding out your fiancé was a serial cheater must have been devastating, but your clown-themed revenge was pure genius. Replacing every picture in his house with creepy clown images, from wallet size to posters, and hiding them in drawers, the fridge, and even the attic ladder? That's next-level commitment to exploiting his phobia. The motion sensor clown laugh and swapped DVDs are the icing on the cake. I love that you sold the engagement ring to fund a celebratory steak dinner. Classy! Your note about the legalities of keeping the ring is a fair question. Laws vary, but in many places it's considered a conditional gift, so you might have been in the clear. This story's a hilarious reminder that betraying someone can come back to haunt you, literally. Story 3, cheat on me, you'll get deported, arrested, and never see your child again. Wow, this story is a gut punch. Your ex's accusations of cheating while you were pregnant, despite his own infidelity, are infuriating. His "I was lonely" excuse for shacking up with another woman in Europe is pathetic. Sending his new passport and letting him think you were still playing happy family, only to hit him with separation papers and a custody hearing, was a brilliant move. The fact that his visa issues and legal troubles piled up, potentially deporting him and cutting him off from your daughter, feels like karma at work. Your strength as a new mom, navigating that betrayal and taking legal action, is inspiring. This story's a powerful testament to protecting yourself and your child from a liar. Story 4. Want to threaten to kill me and be creepy with little girls? Have fun dealing with the FBI. This one's chilling, but so satisfying. Your ex's threats to burn down your apartment and his creepy behavior toward underage girls are beyond alarming. Keeping tabs on him and reporting his online handles to the FBI and the Center for Missing and Exploited Children was a smart, proactive move. His arrest in a sting operation, complete with whips and handcuffs in his backpack, is the kind of justice that makes you sleep better at night. The fact that his own threats led you to the gossip that sealed his fate is pure karma. This story's a reminder that standing up to a dangerous creep can protect others, and I'm glad you and your daughter are safer now. Story 5. When getting your deposit back from your landlord is like drawing blood from a stone. This story is a masterclass in persistence. Shady landlord's bait and switch with the apartment's amenities and his nickel and diming for paper towels and AC is infuriating. His refusal to return your $650 deposit, despite breaking laws on move-out inspections, was begging for a fight. Your 40-page evidence packet and willingness to battle through multiple court dates, even by phone from across the country, is impressive. Turning his $650 debt into $1,893.91 with interest and fees via a bank levy, that's the kind of petty victory I live for. Your story about your own scummy landlord resonates. Mine pulled a similar stunt with a deposit. This story shows that knowledge and determination can make a shady landlord pay. That brings us to the end of another ProRevenge episode. If you haven't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss future episodes. See you in the next one.